introduction. All right, from the student Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Tapio Ylinen accepted our invitation to our show. Tapio, welcome to my humble podcast, man.
I'm happy to be there here. Yes.
No problem. Let's go back to the beginning of your life. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps began taking piano lessons, guitar lessons, that sort of things?
My father had he's he's a doctor by day, but he's also a very proficient singer, and there was a lot of music in the house. He had a very nice record collection, and so I grew up listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Beatles, and all kinds of music, classical music, jazz, progressive rock. So all kinds of music at the house, and I saw a lot of live music when I was a kid. So
good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
In high school, were you in any bands at all?
I went to a music high school, a high school specialized in music, and so there was a lot of fellow musicians there, and all kinds of band projects, and it was very busy. There was again lots of music going around, and lots of different projects. So yeah, a very fruitful atmosphere.
Gotcha. So eventually you finished high school. Any pressure for your family? Hey, forget about music. You're not going to make any money. Become a doctor, your dad, or become an engineer, or so you can get married, form a family.
No, my parents were very supportive of me going into the arts field. I was also doing a lot of theater work at the time, so I tried to be, for a while, I tried to be an actor, and then I switched over to directing and writing. And
Wow.
I have two degrees. I have a master's degree in musicology, but I also have a master's degree in film screenwriting. So that's my kind of second profession, if you will. I haven't done a lot of that since my music career took off a bit earlier, but I still write, and I still occasionally do stuff in the theater, and so that's kind of my second profession.
Have you written music for like theater or film score or anything like that as well to complement?
It's been a while. It's been probably like 20 years since I did that, but I've done quite a bit of theater music, especially a couple of short films I've scored as well.
Right, good for you, man.
Yeah.
But never went back to Hollywood. No, I'm joking. That's like great. Yeah. So you of course you founded your record label in 2007 now, almost 20 years ago, and Eclipse Music. So feel free to elaborate. What was the motivation of putting the record label together? Were you writing music at the time in around 2005, 2006, 2007?
Yeah, it was just after I graduated with my first master's degree, and I was kind of looking for what to do professionally, and at the time I was doing a lot of theater work at the time, and originally I just thought I would put a small business together and try to kind of combine all the projects I was doing at the time. But then a friend of mine who's a great sax player, he had an album that he'd recorded, and he was kind of hustling it around to see if he could get it released. And then one night we were having a party, and after a couple of glasses of wine, he had this idea of, well, Tapio, maybe you should release this. You're putting together this business of yours, and I was feeling good about myself at the moment, and so I said, sure, yeah, let's do it. And then the next day, the kind of the reality of the thing kind of hit me, and I started to wonder what it would actually take to put some kind of indie label together. But the idea intrigued me, so I started to find out about the business and what you actually need to do to get music released, and that's how it started.
I got you. And how difficult had been. Because it's so easy to have an idea after a couple of beers, wine, hey, no problem. And then you look at the reality. Well, you need to find a record plan, a label, radio, how you promote the stuff, who's selling the stuff.
Yeah, all of that.
All of that, putting a company together.
Yeah, I mean, individually, none of that stuff is, it's not impossible, but there's so much of it, there's so many details, and there's so much steps you need to take to get stuff out. I mean, it's easier these days.
Correct,
in 2007, it kind of, streaming was just on its way up, and you didn't have all the internet-based tools that you have these days. So it was a bit more difficult back then. But then again, there was lots of new tools coming out at the time, so I took advantage of the new technologies, and so that's how the label slowly came together, and we started releasing. I mean, in the early days, it was just a couple of albums per year, and now it's like 15 to 20 albums per year, and we press vinyls and we press CDs, and there's lots going on all the time.
Good for you. And is it easy, hard to manage your life as a musician, or kind of business owner, pressing vinyl, sending the stuff, emailing back to people, or listening to other people that send you music to see if they want to release on your record label?
Yeah, the biggest problem is the lack of time. That's definitely the biggest. You need to. I mean, these days I need to be very careful when selecting stuff to do, so that I don't burn myself out. So that's the biggest issue. And because we release mostly marginal music, there's not too much money flowing around, so that means I can only hire people on a case-by-case basis to help me out. So that's a bit of a challenge. If there was a bit more money, I would definitely hire more people, but at the moment it's we need to go on a project-by-project basis on hiring people.
No, I understand. You've end up releasing two album in 2012 and 2016. No, sorry, 2012, right? I think they were at the beginning. Yes. Two English, Finnish language rock album, right?
Yes.
Before you end up releasing your first debut album in 2018, that was in English. And feel free to elaborate. Why was the motivation to switching from Finnish to English, and then how difficult was to put the record label, put that band together in order for you to release the music, and so on. So what was your strategy behind it?
The first album in which I did in Finnish, the Finnish music scene is very much, at least at the moment, it's very much oriented around Finnish language songs.
Right.
So it was my attempt to get stuff played on the radio, and so if you want to do that in Finland, you pretty much need to have Finnish lyrics. In order to have heavy rotation, I mean, there's all kinds of programs you can contact which do play all kinds of music and English language music as well.
Yep.
But in order to get heavy rotation on radio, you really need to have Finnish language lyrics. So that was my attempt on my first album, and on that album I played all the instruments myself. I made a point of, kind of doing it all by myself, and it took a very long time. And afterwards, because I didn't get on the radio and it didn't sell too much, I needed to rethink what I was doing, and then eventually I decided to kind of forgo the idea of getting into radio here in Finland, and I decided I would try to do what I think I do best, which is writing songs in English.
Yeah.
I think I'm better at it than writing pop lyrics in Finnish. And the idea was that I would try to kind of knock on the doors of international publications and radio stations. And again, it took some time, but with the eventually with the fifth season album, we kind of cracked the code and we did it. And so, that was the kind of story of switching from Finnish to English.
My understanding, the album, as you say, the first two albums that you ended up releasing, and then the one in 2018, received, good reviews for what I read on the internet, and of course, modest commercial success. But you were on your way to do it, right? So,
yeah, I mean, the reviews have always been really good. I don't seem to remember ever getting a bad review. A couple of indifferent ones, I think, but but mostly the consensus seems to be that my songs seems to have some kind of quality to them. But again, the commercial side of things is completely another thing, and I'm not perhaps the best person to evaluate my own successes in the financial field. I do my music because I want to do my music, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, financially speaking.
Sure.
But
at the end of the day, you do what you like, right? So.
Yeah, and I've also been lucky enough to get some public funding grants and that kind of thing to help produce these later albums. It took some time to get into that, to gain enough recognition so that I can start getting grants. But eventually I did, and now getting funding for my music it's still not easy, but I do get some public funding for these projects, and that helps a lot because that you still need to worry about money, but there's kind of you have somewhere to start. Financially speaking, you don't have to start with nothing.
No, I understand. No, I imagine that in the government, in your country, right, there's money allocated to the arts support for writers, musicians, painters, so forth, right? And then during the pandemic also as well, that many countries in Europe, I have interviewed a lot of people from Norway, believe it or not, a lot of people when they told me they have grant that you can apply, and because musician or painter, whatever, they couldn't tour, right? They couldn't earn a living, so the government, will give you a little bit of money to keep you going and that sort of things, right?
Yes, I received some of that
Yeah.
public funding as well. So I mean, it was a very difficult situation, and many colleagues of mine didn't receive the funding that I thought they deserved, but the system is not perfect. But for those of us who did receive funding during the pandemic, it was a real blessing, and it helped a lot, and we got through it.
Yeah, good for you. In 2019, you end up, releasing Mortality, and I think that album really received great reviews. And you brought a bunch of all-star jazz musicians, for the vibrant Helsinki jazz scene. Feel free to elaborate on that, how you put it together, and so on and so forth. I think you have a tragedy in your family as well, and
yes, yeah. I was widowed in 2015. My first wife, she had a very difficult form of cancer, and she struggled with it for many years. And after she died, I took some sick leave, and I spent a lot of evenings just improvising and playing stuff on the guitar and sometimes on the piano. And whenever I discovered something interesting, I recorded it, just so that I have a note or some kind of track record of what I was playing. And then after a while, I forgot all about it. I started doing other things, and a couple of years went by, and then a couple of years later, I started listening to the stuff I had recorded after the funeral and during the next, I don't know, 6 months or so. And I discovered that there was a lot of interesting stuff I had composed with a lot of emotion and kind of depth, I thought, to the music. They were very early stages sketches at that point, and at first I thought I would do a kind of a Mike Oldfield type of album, so that it would be an instrumental album like Tubular Bells or something like that. And I started recording myself again with me playing all the instruments, and then and then I remembered my previous experience of trying to play everything myself, and I thought this is going to take forever if I need to do this by myself. And but then I was also, at the time, I was hosting jazz club concerts here in Tampere, my hometown, and so I was hanging around backstage with all the jazz cats, the Finnish jazz cats, and I got to know a lot of them personally, and a lot of them I knew beforehand. So I had really good contacts with the kind of the very best jazz guys in Finland. And so then I had this idea of, well, maybe we should do it with a jazz orchestra or a jazz ensemble. And And I asked Verneri Pohjola first, and I had this idea of, well, I have these songs. They're kind of rudimentary, at a rudimentary stage at this point. But maybe if we kind of arrange them together. So I send you some material, and then you'll send something back, and we'll go back and forth, and maybe this something interesting will come out of that. And once Verneri was involved, getting all the other guys became much easier because everybody wants to play with Verneri. And so I got this ensemble together quite quickly, and then I asked the guys if they wanted to participate in the arrangements of the music, and that's what they did, and that's what we did. And it took some time, but eventually we had this beautiful theme album together with my compositions and really nice arrangements from the guys. And that's how that came to be, and it was very successful. We had a lot of publicity, interviews on major magazines and newspapers, and it was nominated for Jazz Album of the Year and so on and so forth. So that went really, really well.
Good for you. And at the time, that allowed you to perhaps tour in your country or tour in Norway or Sweden, Finland?
Yes, I mean, I wished we could have done more, but it was released at the end of 2019, and we played a couple of gigs, and then the pandemic happened.
Wow.
And there was absolutely no way to tour.
Yeah.
We did play a couple of festival gigs whenever there was a place to play, and then we did. But it was just a couple of 2 or 3 festival gigs that we ended up doing. The band is currently a bit more active. We just released the second album last autumn, Volume 2, and with a slightly different lineup, but this lineup has been a bit more active, and we've played a bit more gigs this time.
Yeah. Are you playing mostly gigs during the weekend? I don't know if you have another full-time job and you do music on the side, you try to do both. Or...
Well, the record label is kind of my
record label. I got it.
Yeah, so I do that during the week. But since I'm an entrepreneur and there's not much stuff that usually needs to be done during the day necessarily. So if there's an opportunity to play on a Wednesday, then it's usually not a problem for me to take the day off from the label and make some music.
Right, I try to make some money to pay the bill.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I don't know which of these is the worst option, financially speaking, playing jazz gigs or being in a jazz record label. I mean, neither of them are, especially well funded. But,
when you do a concert, just to give an idea, how many people will attend a particular gig? 50, 100, 200 people, or those are more venues?
It varies quite a bit. I mean, if you're playing a small club on a Wednesday, then it's maybe 40 to 50 people.
Yeah.
If you're playing a weekend festival gig, then it can be 200 or 300.
Gotcha.
And if it's Pori Jazz in the summertime, you can get 1,000 people showing up. So it's
that's better.
It really varies.
Yeah. Yeah, especially and you need to play the bills and all sorts of. So we thought before we talk about the fifth season, right?
Yes.
That was released in 2023. If you don't mind, so you were doing what were you doing between the I don't know the 2020 and then 2023? Well, there was the pandemic in between, right? But
Yes.
I think you have a solo album in 2018 as well, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, my first English solo album. It was
Yes.
that was before we put fifth season together.
Oh, I
It
see.
was with it was with my previous band, which was a power trio.
Yep.
With Tatu Rönkkö and Mikael Anttila, who were high school buddies of mine. So we met way back, and we had this band. It was formed around the time when I graduated from high school, and we put this band together back then. And at the time, this was the early 2000s. We were trying to get a record deal, and that never happened. And then Mikael, our bass player, he got a very good gig playing with Jenni Vartiainen, who was at the time the biggest pop star in Finland. And so he went off to play that gig, and he was very successful with that. And Tatu, he lived in Berlin, in Germany, for a while, and he played with this experimental band called Efterklang. And he toured, around the world with them, and it was a pretty successful indie band. And so that band kind of never really happened, but we had all these tapes that we recorded before the band split up, and that album came out of those sessions that we did. So they were kind of 50% done, and they were missing my overdubs. And we put them on hold, and the idea was that, okay, when all of this crazy stuff is over and we have time to get back together with the three of us and play, then we release them. But that never happened. So eventually I decided that I would just finish what we started and release it and see what happens. And again, it wasn't a huge commercial success, but it did open some doors, I think, because again, the reviews were good, and it kind of propelled me to take my music career and my progressive rock inclinations more seriously, I guess.
I understand. Yeah, in 2023, you end up, of course, releasing the album, the debut album of Fifth Season, and then very big name there. I have interviewed Durga. She's a very nice lady. I have not interviewed Jukka, but I know he's a founding member of Wigwam. Feel free to elaborate of that album, which is great because for people that like prog rock, you have influences of a touch of Pink Floyd, Jazz, Genesis, all the great bands out there. So
Yes,
feel free. What was the motivation to put that together? Because it's a very good album, man. So
I'm glad you like it. Well, it came out of after I've released the album in 2018, the Left Unsaid album. I had met Mikko Löytty, who's our bass player in Fifth Season. I'd met him on another project, and he was looking for guys to play his solo material. He'd released a couple of solo albums, and I was looking for a band to play my own music with. And so originally we decided that we should put a band together and we could play each other's material, from our solo albums. And we did for a while. We played a couple of gigs with that concept, but eventually we started to feel like, okay, we have this nice band going on. Should we see if we have new material, and maybe we should kind of make this into a proper band, a recording band, since we both had new songs and we had new material that we wanted to record. And we slowly we started to put the album together, and again the pandemic made that a bit difficult. We started in January 2020, I think, with the first sessions, and immediately after that, full lockdown, and there was, we couldn't do anything for 3 months, and then the next summer we reconvened and recorded some stuff, and then again by late 2020, lockdown, and again there was nothing to do. So it took quite a while to get the recordings done, and then at the end of, we were kind of 75% done with the album. This was in 2022, early in 2022, I think. So we were kind of figuring out, well, maybe we should start releasing this thing. And I had met Durga when she was visiting Finland. She came to sing with us, with our Pink Floyd tribute band,
right. Yeah.
which I'm a part of, and our lead singer Thierry used to be a bodyguard for David Gilmour in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he's a martial artist. So yeah, he used to be one of the security guys during the Division Bell tour, and she knew Durga.
Of course. Yeah.
And so he invited Durga to come to Finland, and we played a show, and it was very nice, and we stayed in touch after that every now and then. And yeah, and then when we were kind of starting to finish off the album, I had this idea of, well, there was this song, Desperate Measures, which is the last song on the album, and I kept hearing this thing where at the end of the song, I'd like to have a female vocalist doing a kind of a Great Gig in the Sky kind of thing, because the song is about death, and Great Gig in the Sky is about death. And so I had this connection in my head with that idea, and then it was kind of obvious at that point, because I'd obviously heard Durga sing Great Gig many times on film and in person, and I had the pleasure of performing that song with her. And so I sent her a message, and yeah, she was doing a lot of gigs at the time, but this was at the start of 2022, and she lived in Italy, and Italy had one more lockdown in the spring of 22, and so all of her gigs were canceled, and she was like, yeah, well, I have nothing to do, but I can do sessions.
Sure.
I have the time. And so it was kind of great timing for us that she was available. But yeah, we did the session, and it turned out great.
For you, good for you. The album is great. Were you able to tour after the album was released? Now we're talking 2023, 2024.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We've It's been a kind of a compilation of kind of small tours and individual gigs.
Gotcha.
We had a 5-day tour last autumn, and we've had a couple of festival gigs, and gigs here and there whenever available.
Sure.
Mostly in Finland, so we haven't had the chance to play abroad, at least not yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an active band. The only problem seems to be that everyone in the band also has other projects that kind of pay the bills.
Sure.
So this band convenes whenever everybody's available.
Gotcha.
But we're doing a second album now. We've started working on that material, and we also have some live material from last year's touring. We recorded a couple of shows, and I'm trying to put the best bits of that tour together to kind of make some kind of live release. I don't know whether it's going to be an EP or an album just yet, but there is some live material that we have, and I'm trying to mix that together, and so that we can release some live stuff before we release the second album, which is still in its early stages.
Gotcha. Is where you're releasing, it's going to be just audio or video as well, like a Blu-ray or a DVD or?
There's video from one of the shows, so there's the problem of we have shows that we recorded only in audio.
I got it.
And then we have one festival gig that we also have video for.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's the live stuff is going to be mostly audio, but if we can kind of sync it up with the video stuff from the one concert we do have on video, then maybe some clips from that would be nice to put out there, probably on YouTube. Or I don't think there's enough material for a DVD release, but yeah, YouTube, a couple of songs on YouTube, I think, as video.
That would be great. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing that. You're also part of Pulse, right? Which is a tribute band.
Yes.
For Pink Floyd. I think you received a Finnish Grammy, the Emma Award, and that's pretty good, man. People in your country can recognize you at the same time. It's very weird. A lot of people that I interview from Finland, Norway, Denmark, all these countries, they are more known or signed their own country than in their own country. I have no idea why, because your band is very good. I really like your music, and the people the same go for the people I interview in Norway or Finland or Denmark. They go to Europe, they go to London, they go to other country, but in their own country, I don't know, they don't do that well, or probably only 100 people will attend a gig. But if they go to London, which is more expensive to fly there, I don't know, 300 or 400 people will be. It's kind of difficult to be known in your own place.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, the Nordic countries, there's not a lot of people here. They're small countries. I mean, 5 million people in Finland, about 5 million in Norway, about 5 million in Denmark.
Yeah.
So there's only, I think there's only people in the big cities.
I got it.
So
right.
once you've played the big cities, there's nowhere else to go. So that's a bit of a problem if you're trying to tour with your original material. So mostly I think it's a good idea if you're doing prog rock or jazz or any kind of experimental music that has a niche market. at some point you're going to have to try to export yourself to other countries.
Gotcha, I understand. So you're working the next album is something that could be released probably next year or something, or?
Yes, I mean we've only done production demos at this point, so there's nothing final recorded yet. But we're planning for a session in the autumn. So and this time we're gonna try to kind of record all at once, because last time it was like 5 or 6 sessions over 2 years, and it was a nightmare to put together. But this time we're going to be more cohesive with that, and try to get it out by next year. I'm thinking autumn 26.
Got it. And then the same lineup or different people?
Yes, it's same lineup, and I've talked to Durga, and if our schedules line up, I'm pretty sure I can get her to guest once more. And I'm also trying to get some other guests to kind of help us out. I'm actually doing a session with an American singer-songwriter called Ted Russell Camp.
I need to check him out.
Yeah, he's a singer and bass player. He's played with Scooter Jennings, who's a country artist.
Yeah.
He lives in Los Angeles, but he's coming to Finland. I've worked with him a couple of times, and we've been doing some recordings together. And let's see if I mean we're definitely doing something with Ted when he's here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It might end up on the next 5th Season album, or it might end up on my next solo thing, whatever it's going to be.
Right.
But I've been recording some solo material as well. It's been 7 years since the last one, so maybe it's time for a solo record at some point.
Good for you, man. Good for you, man. Man, your music is great, and happy to help in any way I can. When you release a second album, we can do a follow-up interview. I'm here to help you guys, and
I'd be happy to. Yeah.
Because I love it. And feel free to mention where the viewer did podcast can buy your music. Feel free to mention your record label or where people can get a hold of you.
You can find us on Facebook. It's Eclipse Music is the record label.
Yep.
And 5th Season is also on Facebook. I have a website. It's Tapio Ylinen .eclipsemusic.com.
Right.
I'm on Instagram, and if you want to buy music, you can find us on Bandcamp. That's the best way to buy our music. It's eclipsemusicrecordlabel.bandcamp.com. It's a bit complicated, but you'll find it. And 5th Season is also on Bandcamp as a separate page. It's just 5thseason.bandcamp.com.
And then people are able to buy CDs, MP3s, vinyl, whatever, right?
Yes. It's everything's available, and we have some music videos as well on sale at the Bandcamp store.
All right, that's great. Hey, my friend, it was very nice talking to you. You're doing well. You're working hard, trying to make a living, play music, and and your music is great, man. It was very nice talking to you, and good luck to you, man, with everything.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'll certainly be happy to talk to you again next time when we have some new material coming up.
You bet. Thanks, man.
Take it easy.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate it.